Happy Monday. What's a Monday without some court Zoom meetings and some good old-fashioned sociopathic narcissistic adventure? Let's get your tea and your toast and buckle up with your favorite cat because we're going to go on a bumpy ride today. This is going to take us across the country. So as some of you might recall, when my mom passed away, God rest her soul, everything was quiet for a while, and it was probably because we were out of state and out of touch. Well, when we returned, we decided to get married, and 2 whole days later, good old Grandpa and man-baby Jesse decided to grace us with their presence. They landed in our front yard for 7 whole months, making our life a living hell, dive bombing it with every chaotic, crazy circus they could think of. Now, before they left, not only did they leave us with their lifelong load of garbage in our front yard, but good old Grandpa, who gets a nice little pension from the state, bought himself a $15,000 Hummer. Now, this 2004 Hummer with 200,000 miles and a custom installed breathalyzer was his piece of gold. Now, see, Grandpa wasn't always flush with cash, you see. He used to support his family writing hot checks and run from the law, doing slip and falls, multiple identities, and fun stuff like that. But one day, after a few Percocet and a 6-pack of Guinness, he decided to get a real job. Now, this real job had a plan. After 3 days at this real job, he decided to push himself off a ladder. Oops. Grandpa fought harder than any job he had ever had to get that disability check, and the state of Washington writes him a $5,500 check every month to live his best life. Well, before this, Grandpa decided that, they would help my grandma out, who was really well off and doing pretty fine on her own. She would, kind of be a little nice. Well, they decided to let her buy a $650,000 house that they would live in with her while they spent all her money on her deathbed. So they spent all her money at the casinos and, buying shiny things that they eventually pawned at the pawn shop, and then she died and they sold all their stuff and took off. Probate court wondered where they were at. So good old Grandpa has this nice little Hummer that he thinks is the best thing on earth, and this $5,500 a month, and he rides off into the sunset with his trailer behind him, his man-baby in the front seat, looking for adventure. So good old Grandpa thinks that $5,500 pension a month is like $1 million a month, and all of us grifters want to take it from him. So he's got to hide from us. I mean, rightfully so, right? So after they said, see you next Thursday, where do you think they went? Well, Hawaii, of course. Good old Grandpa's had a lifelong obsession with Willie Nelson, beaches, and boobs. So the 2 of them hop a plane. They go on over to Hawaii. Now, when you're not paying any bills and, you got nothing else to do, it may seem like you're rich. So they're over there grifting, doing their best thing. But good old Grandpa is coming to find out that his 40-year-old breastfeeding man-baby isn't his favorite companion anymore. He'd like some female companionship. So he gets out his QVC laptop and he hops on silverfox.com, find himself a nice little gold-digging girlfriend who's got 3 kids, likes long walks on the beach, candlelight dinners, a rugged man with a bank account. Now they're living their best life, going to the Panama Canal, Alaska, the Caribbean, whining and dining, doing all kinds of great stuff, but man-baby's kind of cramping his style. It's not really fun to have a girlfriend over in your van when your man-baby's sitting in the front seat. So what does he do with man-baby? Well, send him on vacation, of course. Hello. So man-baby gets a nice little plane ticket all the way to Tampa. So man-baby gets on the plane, thinks he's going on a short vacation to go visit and party and have some fun for spring break or whatever it is. He's got a little layover in Dallas. Well, man-baby doesn't understand what a layover or connecting flight is really, so he takes his good old cash, walking money from good old Grandpa. He goes and buys himself some meth and some alcohol and misses his connecting flight. Oops. Well, good old Grandpa isn't very happy about this, but he still doesn't want him to come back, so he buys him another ticket down to Tampa. Now, man-baby Jesse arrives in Tampa all happy and ready to party. Well, who's he going to party with, you say? Duck Lips, of course. Hello. Now, Duck Lips is my middle brother, and, well, I'm the oldest of 3, and for some reason this crazy gene pool only hit the male side. But Duck Lips has at least 9 baby mamas and maybe 13 or 14 kids. I know of 11 so far. He's never paid child support, running from his, baby mamas and is currently married to someone who works really hard to support his habits. He's living off the government and doing his best grift, of course. But you see, he's got a little problem with, Percocet and things like that. But his bigger problem is finding girlfriends that he can use for their cars and money on the side. Now, Duck Lips is thinking that this is going to be an opportunity for him to get back in good grandpa's graces to get some financial support. He thinks that playing the good brother to support his little brother is going to help him get into grandpa's good grip and graces and whatever it is. Well, it doesn't really work out that way because good old grandpa's only Western Unioning man baby money. Oh, Duck Lips isn't very happy about that. And, man baby goes out and gets a day labor job, turning a sign on the freeway. And after a couple days, the employer said, can't really drink a fifth of whiskey coming to work on the freeway. Not for us, at least. He gets fired. Well, now Man Baby is really leaning on Duck Lips, and it's not making him very happy because he's not getting his end of the bargain of this one. Good old Grandpa's not really helping out. So what do you do with that? Well, you kick him out, of course. Hello? So Duck Lips gets rid of Man Baby, but, Man Baby uses this to his advantage by calling good old Grandpa and playing the victim and saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Now I'm homeless, living in the woods. I'm starving and I can't support myself. So good old Grandpa starts sending more cash, and well, good old Jesse's using that cash to, supply his meth habit in between stealing bicycles and breaking and entering. Well, this is making Duck Lips kind of mad because good old Jesse's getting kind of the benefit out of this. So what does he do? Borrows one of his girlfriend's cars that he pretends is his, drive around Tampa looking for Man Baby. What's he doing that for? To check on him, of course. Well, Duck Lips' version of checking on Man Baby consists of driving around the A&P and the parking rides, looking for where Man Baby's hanging out, drinking with his buddies that he met down in the woods, throwing Slurpee cups at his head and calling him a loser, waiting for him to take the first swing. So Man Baby Jesse finally does take the first swing, and, Duck Lips is ready to go brawling. Well, Duck Lips doesn't play by code, not at least family code. Duck Lips calls the cops. Says, I don't know why he took a swing at me. I was just trying to make sure he was okay and bring him some water. I didn't mean to throw that at his head. Well, they haul good old Jesse off to jail for DV strangulation as a felony, and Duck Lips is pretty proud of himself that he got a criminal off the street. So good old Duck Lips goes up to the prosecutor's office and says, I want to press charges. I want a restraining order. Keep him in jail. He is a danger to society. Well, I agree on that part, but, I think they're both a danger to society. Kind of a, string of problems here. So, good old Duck Lips is happy and thinks that they're going to keep him under lock and key for a while. Well, good old Grandpa gets that call, and he's pretty mad that he would have put his baby brother in jail because that's just not right to do. So, good old Grandpa bails good old Jesse out of jail for 5,000 cold ones. Now, Duck Lips isn't very happy about this, so he's up and down from the prosecutor's office wanting to know what he can do to get Jesse back in jail. Well, it's not working out for him very well. So these two are going back and forth in Tampa for a while, doing their little thing. We're going to leave them for a minute, come all the way back up to Washington State for a minute, where I come into this picture. Now, I'm living my best life, doing things, kind of keeping ourselves safe during this whole pandemic and everything, when my 3 adult children who are well-adjusted, hardworking, good members of society are just doing their hardest to stay afloat right now. Well, Grandpa must have found Facebook because we started getting this whole slew of messages from good old Grandpa on Facebook. Now, these aren't the regular Grandpa messages that would say, hi, how you doing? Or, are you okay during this pandemic? It's hundreds and hundreds of photos. Photos of what, you say? Not hi, are you okay? Or, good to see you. Photos of his new family, on vacation, doing their best thing, having fun. No words connected to these photos, just look at me, aren't you proud of me for having a new family and forgetting any of you ever existed? Lovely. So, during this time, we're just kind of, feel a little insulted, but hey, whatever gets you through the day, just kind of leave us alone sort of thing, So, that's what's kind of going on up here. We're just kind of doing our own thing, and good old Grandpa thinks that he needs to flaunt that he's got some, new family members. Now, after a little while of this happening, good old Grandpa sends me an SOS message on Facebook. Oh, no, are you okay? That's right. If you read that text message, my dad is asking me to beat up my cousin. His 45-year-old daughter he doesn't talk to, randomly, SOS, hope you could beat her up. Well, good old Grandpa goes on to tell me that somebody down in his family in Oregon told his new grifter girlfriend that he used to be in prison. A lot. Well, see, good old Grandpa didn't give her the $100,000 motorhome that she wanted and only offered to pay for a $50,000 motorhome. So when she heard about this whole prison thing, it kind of made her upset and kind of clashed with her morals. So she hopped a plane back to Hawaii because, she's better than that. How dare you lie? Which, I get it. But, it was more about the motorhome than it was about his prison record. Good old Grandpa is really upset, and he's a victim in all of this, and he doesn't know why anybody would do that to ruin his life. Now, I'm claiming karma, but he's blaming everybody else. Apparently, he's threatening suicide and how horrible everything is because we're just horrible to him. Apparently, even though we don't have any contact with him. So, during this time of Grandpa's distress, he decides to send an SOS call to man baby Jesse down in Florida. That's right, we're going back to Tampa. So man baby Jesse's fighting with duck lips down in Florida, and well, to get away from that, good old Grandpa decides that he'd like his companion back. So he gives him a Greyhound ticket because good old Jesse can't get on an aeroplane because he doesn't have any more ID or identification because he keeps losing it when he's high. So he puts Jesse on a bus, mind you, without telling his probation officer or any of the people he's out on bond with, and this is a violation of his probation. Good old Jesse gets on a bus from Tampa all the way to Arizona. See, we're stopping in Arizona where Jesse got off the bus, did a little breaking and entering, and got arrested again. Darn it. They held up his trip. So he gets arrested, and he spends 7 days in that fun little jail, and good old Grandpa has to put down another $5,000 of cash, hard ones, for Jesse to get back out of jail. Darn it. So he gets him another bus ticket for $400, sends him all the way up to Oregon, where he thinks that he's going to have his little party buddy back, and they're just going to have a good old time reminiscing about how sad they are. Well, it doesn't work out very well, and good old Jesse decides to get drunk and trash his house and cause a little bit of chaos for good old Grandpa and his lifestyle. He must have gotten an email back from somebody off of silverfox.com and decided to send Jesse packing again. So he puts Jesse on a bus again with a brand new cooler and a brand new tent and sends him back to Tampa. Not sure how he got him willingly on the bus, but who knows. So Jesse heads his butt back to Tampa, and within 24 hours of being in Tampa, guess what happens? Good old Grandpa decides to call Tony the bail bondsman and say, I want my son back in jail. I'm revoking his bond. That's the safest place for him. So Tony the bail bondsman says, are you sure? Oh yeah, I'm sure. I want you to go pick him up. So Tony the bail bondsman gets his best tactical gear on and charges up his taser and calls Duck Lips and says, where's your badass brother? Well, good old Duck Lips says, oh, I'll tell you where he's at. I know exactly where he's at. So they hop in the car together and they go find good old Jesse, and good old Tony's standing over Jesse with the taser, and the phone rings. Who could it be? Oh, it's Grandpa. Grandpa decided that he made a mistake and he had finally had his Percocet and Guinness, and that he didn't want to revoke Jesse's bond and to call it all off. Well, Tony says, screw you, I'm arresting this kid anyway. You made me get my tactical gear on and drive 40 minutes, so I'm not playing any games. So they take Jesse back to jail and they revoke his bond and say, sorry, see you later. Well, this makes Duck Lips pretty happy, and he starts sending me messages at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it is, and I wake up to a slew of text messages of tons of drama. Well, Duck Lips is down in Florida going to the prosecutor's office, making sure that good old Jesse can't get out of jail again because, you know what, he's a danger and he needs to stay there. Prosecutor's office says it's very unlikely that he's going to get out, and now he's going to get 2 years because he violated his probation, or whatever the hell it was. Well, Duck Lips is pretty happy about this because, well, he got what he wanted, which was to put Jesse behind bars. Now, good old Duck Lips calls me and says, I don't think he's getting out of jail. And I said, well, I disagree with you. I say give it 24 hours, if not 8 hours, before good old Grandpa's got good old Jesse back out of jail again. And he says, no, the prosecutor's office promised me he wasn't getting out. Well, it didn't take even 8 hours. It took about 5 hours for good old Grandpa to find a bail bondsman willing to take his $5,000 hard cash again. So Jesse's back out of jail doing his best thing. That made Duck Lips really, really mad. So I'm getting these phone calls and text messages just how mad he is and how done he is with all this family drama, even though he's stirring the pot along with them. So good old Grandpa's now really mad at Duck Lips because it just cost him another $5,000, even though good old Jesse has no responsibility in this, by the way. It's everybody else's fault. So during their exchanges of really mad text messages and insulting each other, somehow I got brought into the mix. Good old Grandpa tells good old Duck Lips that I tried to poison him for his income. Not quite sure where that came from, but again, one of those just kind of lies from thin air. So good old Grandpa's getting really, really mad at Duck Lips, and he decides to play the final card. That final card is, screw you, I hate you. You all hate me, you all hate Jesse. And by the way, I'm not your father. Can't make this stuff up. So, I actually know about this little story. Good old Grandpa thinks that my mom cheated on him while he was in prison, and that's where my little brother was conceived, even though my dad was on furlough. So, now Duck Lips is upset, and he's seeking a DNA test to find out who his real dad is, because good old Grandpa told him his real dad died in prison while he was incarcerated for mafia-related crimes. So, today we had a Zoom hearing. Now, over the weekend or last week or whenever it was, I decided to kind of lay it on the line for good old Grandpa and tell him to cut the crap, stop making up lies, and leave me out of the drama. Now, his line back to me was pretty much this. Okay, I accept. So today on the court Zoom hearing was Jesse in front of the judge again, sitting in the public defender's office, basically getting another pass. So he's going to stay out on bond, and in January they're going to look at another disposition and say, okay, well, we're just going to keep letting him out and doing his thing until we decide that we just don't want to deal with this case anymore. Even to Florida. Washington isn't any better. Jesse's running for warrants up here too. So that's pretty much what's going on in the sociopathic circus at this point, and all I know. I'm sure there'll be some more family drama around Christmas, which I try to avoid and I try to block, but they keep creating new Facebook accounts and keep finding me anyways. Anyway, I hope this story made you feel a little bit better about the choices that you make on a daily basis and how there's other people out there that are probably worse than you and a little bit more on the deceptive side. Welcome to my family life and what I try to run from on a daily basis, but every once in a while there's a reminder there that I don't come from the best stock in the world, and unfortunately my cards were set for me before I was ever born. Best I can do with this is kind of laugh it off, and I take mental illness, drug addiction, things like that very, very seriously because that has impacted my life in a very negative way regarding my family. But when it comes to people like this, there's really nothing that you can do. At a young age, I decided that I didn't want to be like them, and they taught me everything I didn't want to be doing. So I managed to escape, but I haven't escaped the drama and the grips of craziness throughout my life. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day, and this lovely little story kind of lightened your day, or hopefully didn't depress you during this pandemic. If anything, it just gave you a little bit of a laugh, because this would be on some sort of crazy reality TV show at some point. Anyway, have a lovely week. I hope this is a great start to your week, whatever you're doing, and that you're staying safe. I will see you guys in the next update.